Good evening everybody, Flak is back, and boy oh boy do I have something special for you. You see this 2x2, this full size 2x2? This is completely underground, and I'm going to show you how to build it. Now in the past, when I built basement videos, I built them in structures very similar to this, but that left us with a number of problems. For example, the bases always ended up being a little bit too high off the ground, and that raised suspicion. Any experienced builder knows that you need to build as low to the ground as possible. Then there was the fact that the basement is actually a sealed room and you need a method on how to pass items through the walls. I used to use the barbecue glitch. So you put items inside the barbecue, you go around to the other side of the wall, and then you can actually access the barbecue through the wall. Sadly, you can no longer do that. It was patched. Then there was my original method on the drop box. Now you take a drop box, you'd be able to clip it through the floor, and then you can pass items up and down into your basement below. The problem though, patched again. So we can no longer do that. Thank you, Face Punch. Looks like you guys are the world's most fun company. Yeah! Now that leaves us with two things to address. We need to work on the height of the base to make it not look suspicious. We also need to work on a new way on how to glitch. Now, I find myself in the forest, in the mountain area, because this I find is the most wavy terrain pattern. You find big holes like this one. Now this hole's perfect, and I'm going to use this base to hide a base under a base. So the idea is to have a full-size room. No half walls, no bullshit. An actual full-size room. It needs to be flush with the ground. Now that's my base there, and that's where I'm going to be living from, but this is where I'm going to be storing the loot. Now you'll notice when I start, I'm starting quite high. The reason is because I want a 2x2. If I had to place my foundation very low to the ground, like as in flush with the ground, it'll only provide me with enough space for maybe a 1x1, but I want a full size, so I'm going to build a little bit higher, so I can have my base flush with the surrounding areas, as you can see here. First we start and we place our foundations here. Now, these bases are very tricky. There's no real way on how to do it. You basically just have to play it as it is. And because you can only build half foundation upwards, I'll have to layer it. So you'll see I'm building up now, and I can't place. So I need to carry on until I can place. There we go. And I've got a square foundation. I'm going to try and fill foundations around the edge so that I have a complete flush fitting. Here again, you'll see I can't place, so I have to just layer it. The best thing you can do if you get stuck on squares, use triangles. So that side's complete. Now what I'm going to do is just remove this area over here because the squares clearly aren't working. I'm going to hop down to the bottom. I'm going to try with the triangles. We'll see that's a much better fit. So I'm going to fill this area in and try and build the whole way around. Essentially what I want to do is make the foundation reach to the entire edge. And triangles work all the way till here. I can switch back to squares. Now that is perfect. This is going to be the framework for our base. You'll notice some of the areas you can't fill in. Don't worry about it. I'll show you later why. But for now, what we're going to do is work on the structural frame of this base. So I'm going to put a half wall in here. Then once I get to the bottom of the base, I'm going to put in wall frames. The wall frames will help support the roof above. There we go. Looking good. Okay, now I'm going to put on floor tiles just to hide this. I'm going to pop in two triangles over here, and this one I'm going to leave for now just so that I can explain how everything works and so I can finish up the bottom. So now we have to just turn everything to stone. Outstanding. You'll notice now when I look at it from the top, the floor tile and the foundation look identical. It's actually very flush. So I'm going to finish off the rest. And perfecto. Now my other bases used to stand very far off the ground. It was very obvious. But this new style base, nice and flush, perfect way to hide things. Now what I'm going to do is add a couple of frames. The design I'm going for is trying to make this base look like it's decaying beyond repair. Essentially I want to leave most of the base very bare, falling apart as much as possible. This will basically just give curious people a way on how they can walk around completely and not see anything hidden. Over here I'm placing a shelf and a couple of boxes. Now the build server I'm on automatically places locks on doors and boxes, so be sure to leave all the boxes unlocked. It's very important that you leave the boxes unlocked because if you leave a lock on there, they're going to try and break it. In the corner I'm going to place a TC, except this TC room is going to have a window, so that anyone that's looking at the base can have a look inside and they can feel confident that the only thing inside this room is a TC. Now, logic tells anybody that because this base is falling apart, clearly that TC must be basically empty, maybe a couple of metal frags on it, but otherwise mostly empty. Anybody that can get into that TC room is not going to bother getting in that TC room because it's just not worth it. What I do now is furnish the rest of the base, make it look like it was once a proud base but now is falling apart. And that is basically the gist of the build. I'm going to add a couple of boxes here for decoration purposes. Again, removing all the code locks because we want people to be able to look inside. I would recommend throwing in a couple of items, a bit of charcoal, a bit of mushrooms, garbage to make it look like it once was in use. Here I'm going to add a couple of doors. Be sure to not close in any area that will make people wonder if there's something inside. You want them to be able to get and see everything. The idea is to get someone to just pass by this and never ever want to use it. People take over TCs for two reasons. One, to get the resources inside the TC, if there is, and two is to take over a base. This base is not worth taking over because there's just too much repair to be done. And because of the amount of decay happening, there can't be much resources left inside the TC. Now on the bottom of the base, I'm going to start adding my boxes. I'll put 3 on the bottom and then use this halfway wall and a triangle foundation to add a couple more items on top. This triangle lets me get to the boxes at the back, and it was an idea given to me by my friend Han Solo. He's a fucking genius. He can fit so much boxes into a small space, it's actually shocking. In fact, I'm using his method now, and in this tiny space, I'm getting 11 large boxes and 6 small boxes. Quite a lot of space if you ask me. Okay, perfect. So the underground area is now complete, and it is time to show you the real method on how this works. I'm going to hop to the top. Now, in the past, we had, like I said, the drop boxes, and we also had the barbecue. We know that no longer works, so we need a method on how to pass items up and down through this area. Enter the delightful and beautiful research table. These things can be picked up and placed down as many times as you want to. You don't have to rebuild it. We're going to be using this research table to penetrate items through the ground. Ha! Penetrate. So you'll see the little robot arm thingy there, that little thingy thing. Yeah, that thing. Now we're going to be passing items through there. You'll see it clips the ground, and now I can still turn it to stone. Now there's 2 different ways on how you can hide this. One, you can place a box to hide the little arm. That's one method. Or 2, when someone's at the bottom of the basement, they can use the hammer, pick up the research table, and place it in a box so that there is no arm sticking out the wall. It's up to you. Now I'm going to get my friend Default, and he's going to help me show you how this whole transfer process works. It has to be done with 2 people, sadly. Default, baby, grab my C4.
Oh.
Now let's say I need a couple of items. All I have to do is spawn inside my sleeping bag underneath the basement, take the items out of the boxes that I need, put it into the research table, and have Default grab it on top. That way we can pass loot through the floor. It works exactly the same if I want to store things inside it, except in reverse. He would pass it down to me.
In the table?
Yeah, you can just pop it in any space. So he passes all the items through. Once you're done, great. Put your items away in the box. Just like that. Then you're done with the thing. You can either put a box over the arm, or you can pick up the research table. You'll notice it's not clipping through the ground now. That's delightful. Then if you need to get some more items, again, place it. And of course it loses no health, and then it clips through the floor. That's the theory on how this whole thing works. You can pop it away in a box if you don't need it, or you can put a box over it like I mentioned before. And thank you so much for watching my latest build video. Before I go, let me leave you with one final tip. A lot of people watch my videos, so if you're going to be doing something like this, try not to use my design itself, rather use the principle behind the base. For example, in this video I've made a decayed looking base. Maybe don't do that, maybe try something like a garden, or a cage fighting ring for chickens and rocket shooting. I don't know, basically what you want to be doing is use the principle behind my designs, never the design itself. But in the interim I will head back to my 2x2. Of course, now that I have my loot safely secured underground, I no longer need 50,000 airlocks. I have one door, that's all I need. You know why? Because I'm a goddamn legend. And a special thank you to Mantis and Toxic for reminding me about the idea of the research table. In fact, the person that initially gave me the idea for the research table was the other YouTuber, Moji. He had a video where he built a base inside a bush, and he used the method of clipping the research table through the roof. Thanks for watching, everybody. Flak out.